All right, so I don't know how many times I've done this, but maybe I'll get through it this time. Welcome to Looking for Moms, a Mothership actual play. The stars are dead gods. A bit of content warning before you continue. Mothership is a sci-fi horror game for mature audiences. It contains violence, foul language, some sexual content, potential drug use, and depictions of mental stress, trauma, and panic that may not be suited for all audiences. You should consider that content before continuing. And I invite you to check out the other great content from the GMs of Looking for Mom on our Discord server. GM Andrew has a great Humblewood campaign and is starting a Replicant Rebellion Blade Runner campaign. GM Beginner has a slew of videos of his Pirate Board campaign. GM Sid runs a fantastic Brindlewood Bay campaign and is starting a Riley Watch short. GM Maia runs a superb Pinehurst Academy using the City of Mist rules and a new Electric States podcast. Hopefully I'll see you there. But let's get started with Mothership. The stars are dead gods. So we'll get started. We'll see if Aaron joins us in a little bit. If not, we have a new character to eventually introduce in a fashion. I'll do a small recap, relatively short, and then we will start going. Last session, the android Max woke up and by many means took a escape pod down to the surface of Tau Sigma 7 and regrouped with the party just after they had finished a altercation or an event with a alien. At this point, the party was still geared up to find artifacts. That's what they were there for. Try to get some money to repair the ship that they suddenly found themselves inherited in a way or confiscated. They are now all captains. And they proceeded deeper into this alien shrine or ruin and found a hatchery of sorts with large, giant containers with aliens in a red goo and in a circular open petal doorway eventually, which they opened with their own blood. Harm and the android Max went down that small tunnel that they had to almost climb down and found a faceted sepulcher with artifacts laid up on this table that grew up out of the floor. As Max and Harm deliberated, Max eventually picked up this scepter, and the voice of the mother entreated him to take her out of this dead planet. At the same time, the aliens above, where Erik Collins and the Marine Ace were keeping guard, start sloshing around in their containers, and one crawled out or broke out, and combat ensued. One of Ace's bullets went wide, broke out a second alien or cracked their container, this glass giant kind of test tube like thing with that black bioplastic over the top of it that grew out of the walls. And they defended themselves. Max decided to meld with the mother in order to try to protect the crew, because the mother said he could control the aliens if she took him out of this place. So he agrees to meld with the alien, and Harm and Max try to scramble up the tunnel towards Erik Collins and the Marine Ace, who are locked in combat with this two aliens. The Marine Ace, realizing things are going south, quickly decides to pull the aliens towards him in the back of the corner of the room and tries to give the company space to flee. Erik Collins flees kind of to the archway leading out just as Max and Harm come up. Max attempts to control the aliens and fails, and in that moment, Ace accomplishes what he set out to do and is ultimately killed by the aliens in the corner just before Max is able to take control of them. Erik Collins and Harm sees the aliens lower themselves to the ground and come slithering out towards Max and envelop him in their tentacles, and the company escapes or goes back to the spider shuttle. And that's where we're kind of at as they're planning to leave Tau Sigma 7. Harm has Max's body thrown over his shoulder. Erik Collins is out front with the turbine for the coolant of the main engine, which Max had brought down after Mr. Tim told him that the company would never make it out of atmosphere without that part. And they reconvene on the spider shuttle. Erik Collins enters first. Harm with Ace over his shoulder enters the spider shuttle next. It's kind of cantered a little bit. 3 of its legs on one side are curled up and a little bit broke, and the hatch is up top, and you have to climb up over and into the hatch. And Erik Collins, is walking on the sidewall. There's grip tape on the side. If you've ever been on a ship in heavy seas, goes up about 2 or 3 feet. So when the ship rolls, but there is grip tape on these shuttles, and he kind of walks along that grip tape to rehouse the turbine of the coolant turbine, or replace the coolant turbine. The Harm comes in with Ace over his shoulder, and then the android Max. Behind him, this alien comes out, the second alien that he had decided to stay and shrank back into the darkness of the alien ruins and refused to follow him. But one did. One follows him out, and that alien's tentacles wrap around the door and almost pull Max up with it. Like Max goes to start to climb up, but the alien just grabs him around the waist, and it just pulls him up into and down into it, and then sets him on his feet, and then sinks into a rear corner. Erik Collins, you get the turbine seated, and you come out towards the front, put your hand around the corner, and you don't even see that the alien's there. It's camouflage. It's taken on the color of the interior. Even the lines go through it. And you touch it offhand as you're coming out, trying to catch your balance because the ship's still cantered. And you smell it. What is Erik Collins thinking at this moment?
I like grab a handful of it as I'm coming out, basically.
Yeah, I think you come out of the hatch leading to the back where the engine is, and it's in this corner. You don't see it because its coloration has taken the whole color, the kind of dull gray, and it even has lines of where the walls are through it. Like it completely camouflages itself. And like an octopus, which is what it looks like, this huge thing, it's like almost deflated and shrank back into the corner. And you actually touch it when you come through.
I feel like, not having seen it, Erik Collins, he would, I feel like fall down. This is a big startle after. Still, I'm sure we all still have like adrenaline pumping and stuff like that. So yeah, he's definitely startled, and he's gonna yell at, he's going to
Max?
yell at Max. Yeah, he's gonna yell at Max to sell it. Can you please make that thing uncamouflage? I want us to know where it is at all times.
Sure. Let's see if Max could convince him. I'm going to roll Max to see if...
I'll like vigorously wiping off his hand.
He's going to try to control it. Yeah, he does. Like, he's still in this moment. Max is still in this moment, and he doesn't say anything to you. He just looks at it, and something happens with his face. He's an android, so it's hard to tell. Doesn't really show as much emotion, and it immediately takes on its natural coloring, this kind of mottled red and gold, and it's white with these black suckers and giant kind of pincers in its giant tentacles, and it's mostly white with edges of black on it. And you see that immediately it changes and loses its camouflage. Max probably looks at you and nods, and his head's tilted a little bit as if he's listened to something that you can't hear. Harm, you enter with Ace on your shoulders. What does Harm do with Ace as he comes in?
Probably like not like chuck him on one of the chairs, but just kind of like put him like gently on one of the chairs and just be like kind of like sparing a glance at the alien tentacle monster thing. Just be like, okay.
What does Harm think of? He just watched the aliens kill Ace as it was. Now they're wrapped around the android Max. What does the Marine Harm think with this alien now on board with him?
Probably mixed emotions in terms of like they like killed one of my comrades, but at the same time being like if Max can like vouch for it in a way, like I'll be fine with it eventually, but like just kind of being slightly wary of like if it steps out of line, I'm gonna be concerned.
So what I see you probably do is you take Ace and you put him in a jump seat, strap him in, so that his body's almost upright, head down, but he's strapped into the jump seats because you're going to have to exit atmosphere. Does either Harm or Erik Collins pilot the spider drone out, or do you leave it up to autopilot, or have Max do it?
I don't think I want Max doing anything right now.
Yeah, you were co-pilot on the way down. So.
Yeah, so I'll be the pilot this time.
Okay.
Hopefully it goes better.
Do you let the ship autopilot itself out, or you want to pilot it your own?
Is there like a 50-50 I can do?
Yeah, it would, if you wanted to pilot, it's more of a stress roll. If you fail, I would probably have you do. You don't have any pilot skills.
No.
I would probably have you do intellect.
I'm pretty confident with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll pilot then.
Okay. And so Erik Collins takes the pilot seat. Harm is buckled up, I assume, next to Ace in a secondary jump seat. Max sits across from him and buckles up too, face halfway turned towards Harm and the alien, who's no longer camouflaged. You see the alien wrap its tentacles all around the ship, securing itself by its own mechanisms, and Erik Collins lights up the spider shuttle. It shudders and takes off at a kind of a janky angle because it's already sitting that way when the main engines light off, and lifts off kind of at a 45-degree angle before it rights itself, folding in its other legs. And Erik Collins, roll an intellect check just to see how you. Oh, you did. Oh no, that was Max. Okay.
Intellect check. Normal. No advantage. No disadvantage.
Yeah, I would just make it normal. I'm just seeing if you take any stress from.
Dang it.
Definitely stressful.
Yep.
Right. I think the ship careens through the upper atmosphere. It shudders, almost turns over on its side before Erik Collins gets it in the shape, holding onto the yoke. Harm and Max and Erik Collins take one stress as they exit atmosphere. As soon as they get out of the atmosphere, it settles itself down and makes its way to the Gambit. The shuttle turns over on its belly side up so it can marry against the airlock, and you hear it grinding as it tries to settle its conduit against the Gambit. And once it's connected Erik Collins, you hear Mr. Tim's voice, the AI of the Gambit, from over the speaker right up next to you. Captain Erik Collins, there are 3 life boards on. Warning, Captain Erik, there is an alien on board. Abort, abort, abort.
I start telling Mr. Tim?
Mr. Tim, right?
I say, it's all right, Mr. Tim. Looking back at Max, it's all right, Mr. Tim. We've secured a little more than the artifacts we've intended to find, but hopefully it works out. We're safe for now. Don't worry.
Captain Erik Collins, I have 3 life signs on board. Who else made it off the planet with you?
I'm sorry to tell you, but we lost someone. We lost Ace. Captain Ace is no longer with us.
Just a long pause, Mr. Tim. The ship's AI, for whatever reason, which isn't very characteristic for a ship's AI. That is sad. That is sad information. I will open the door. Did you leave him back planet side?
I say, no. We've got him in tow.
Does the other Marine, Captain Harm, have him?
Yes.
Has he decided whether he's going to have a pirate or a Marine burial?
Look over at Harm.
Well, that very much depends on what options are currently available.
Mr. Tibbs says, well, a Marine burial requires we render the body to ash, set it out into space in a small cubicle. A pirate burial, we just put him in the airlock and open it, send him out into the cold. Pirates believe perhaps they may be found by some other entity and revived. It's a terrible chance and unlikely, but that's what pirates believe. Captain Harm?
Is there like I'm trying to remember what's on the ship. It's been so long.
We cannot cremate him aboard the Gambit, Captain Harm. We will have to put him in cold storage until we reach a suitable.
Fair enough. I'll just look at the rest. I'll just look at Erik Collins and be like, I don't know how comfortable you are with this, so probably a pirate burial if we're not comfortable with that.
Do we have like cold storage on here?
Yeah,
I'm looking at the schematic.
You would just put him in cryo.
Yeah.
You'd put his body in cryo, and then once you made it to a place where cremation could occur, you'd have some sort of service there. Pirate burial, you just load him up on the bench in one of the airlocks, have him sit in there, close the inner door, and Mr. Tim opens the outer door.
Yeah, I say we put him in cryo.
Okay, let's do that. I wasn't sure, like, if cryo was, like, the option for that, like, cold storage thing, so let's do that.
Okay.
I feel like he probably would want that.
So Harm takes Ace to the cryo chambers and gently lays Ace's body into a cryo capsule. Mr. Tim informs Max that the alien can be housed either in the main hangar or one of the aft hangars, either port or starboard. And you see Max walk aft, tell you he's going to put the alien in the starboard aft hangar for transit. And Erik Collins boards with Harm. Erik Collins, you and Captain Harm are in the cryo, in cryo, as Harm is laying Ace's body into a cryo chamber, and Mr. Tim comes over to speaker and says, "What do we do now, captains? 75% have survived, and that is good odds."
I say, I guess it's best to contact who's ever interested in receiving these artifacts.
There is a communication buoy, 3-week hyperspace jump, Captain Erik Collins. We could hyperspace to the Green Star communication buoy to send a message to Nakitomi, or we could have a much longer transit and proceed to Siesta 3, which is about a 4-month hyperspace transit. Siesta 3 is a Green Star rest station. The closest transit is a 3-week hyperspace jump to a communication buoy. And what communications buoy is, Green Star Corporation has these communication buoys many places, and ships can come out of hyperspace, send messages. Occasionally they have to come out of hyperspace anyways. Partly refuel if the communication buoy has refueling, and then re-enter hyperspace. Rest stations, Green Star rest stations, are just what they are. They're like hotels in space. They have minor repairability, a little bit of food, lodging, that sort of thing, like a Motel 6, except it's a Green Star rest station. It's just a little bit longer transit, Captain Harm and Captain Erik Collins. The hyperspace transit for that is 4 to 5 months, as long as there's no mishaps, Mr. Tim says.
Yeah, that's what I'm concerned about, Mr. Tim. Maybe we can get to the closest communications buoy.
Okay.
Let them know we have the artifacts, and organize where we're supposed to. Where's the best place to do the handoff and get our credits, and then we can head over to a rest stop so we can do some much needed repairs.
Mr. Tim's voice is very low, whisper. You hear it in your personal comms unit, Captain Erik Collins.
Mm-hmm.
Captain Erik Collins, are both you and Harm going into cryo?
How long is the way to get to the closest beacon, the closest communication?
The communications buoy is 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Maybe. Why do you ask, Mr. Tim?
Well, Captain, there's an alien in the starboard aft hold.
Yeah, I noticed that. That is a concern. Maybe we should.
It's dangerous to be in hyperspace as a human, which is why androids are the ones who are always awake.
Yeah.
You could risk insanity. Captain Erik Collins.
I think about everything I've been through so far, and I'm like, I'm already risking insanity just being here. Max has been pretty stable since we came back. He appears to be controlling that alien. I don't know how much of a help this is to you, Mr. Tim, but
it's not my decision, Captain Erik Collins, but it sounds like you wish to go into cryo, which is perfectly reasonable given your soft body.
Agreed.
Okay.
I'll discuss it with Harm. I go and try to find Harm and see.
Well, you're in cryo together. Like you have a little personal communication device still, probably.
I say, Harm. I've been thinking. How do you feel about Max with the alien in cryo? I mean, with the alien in holding and with us in cryo. Think that's gonna be cool?
overall, as much as I don't want to have a mishap like the last time I came out of cryo, it's probably smart to at least not risk any further insanity.
I
Okay.
agree.
So Captain Erik Collins and Captain Harm are going to load themselves up in the cryo.
Can I tell Mr. Tim to wake us up if anything happens?
Certainly, Captain Erik Collins. Rapid wake up has its own risks and can be accomplished in about 25 to 30 minutes.
Okay, just use your own discretion, I guess.
You will be perfectly safe in the capsule, Captain Erik Collins. I don't expect the alien, if it gets out of sorts, can break in. I don't think so.
I hope not.
Okay. So, Captain Erik Collins and Captain Harm, you strip down, pack up your clothes in the second self, crawl into your cryopods naked, as usually, and the cryo lids closes, and you go to sleep, go into cryo. It's an automated procedure. Cryo was difficult when they first developed it, and they realized that they had to wake up people periodically throughout long transits. Long transits, they maybe wake you up once a month, depending on how long. And the reason is if they put your brain to sleep, if they put you way down under and your brain was static in a low hertz maintenance, they would lose 2-3 out of 10 people in cryo because their brains were inactive for so long. And so what they did is they realized that they just had to surface you a little bit up out of cryo, out of that kind of deep sleep, into an awake state. Let your brain activity reach about 35,000 hertz. Have a bit of panic for 1 or 2 minutes to reinvigorate it, and then put you back down. Now, most people don't remember these kind of sleep events, these nightmares, but they probably occur. You just wake up at the end without having memory of them. And so you're in deep cryo. And then you hear a voice. And it says, "Wake up. Wake up, this is important."
Does it sound like Mr. Tim?
Well, no, it doesn't. It's a female voice. Soft first, way in the distance, Captain Erik Collins, Captain Harm, and Dr. Jose Rizal. Dr. Rizal, you're in cryo chamber number 9. In fact, there's 7 others in cryo chamber that the crew haven't found, and you're one of them. How long have you been in cryo? What captain? Did you serve under Captain Alexandria, or was it a captain in the distant past, recent past? How long have you been in Earth?
I want to say a long time. Not the most recent captain before we took over, but maybe even 2 or 3 captains before that.
Okay. So, Dr. Rizal, you hear this voice. You don't know Captain Alexandria, but you hear the same voice, just like Captain Harm and Captain Erik Collins, that says, "Wake up. Wake up. This is important, Dr. Rizal." And your eyes open. You're hovering well above, like the roof of cryo, all 3 of you. You don't know each other are there. You think this is some sort of waking dream, some sort of cryo dream, but you're not aware each other are having this same dream. And you see this huge guy, 6'3", shoulders like no neck, just giant, and stripping down to his skin as if he's entering cryo. And then this smaller woman, probably 19, 20, young, deep auburn hair, stripping down too. And she And you hear the girl say, "Damn it, I hate my mother." And the big dude just says, "Quiet now. She means the best for you." And then the airlock to cryo opens. Now, Captain Harmon, Captain Erik Collins, the Gambit that you're on has no airlock. It probably should have an airlock, but it doesn't have an airlock. But you're looking and you realize there's an airlock to this. And in comes this woman with dark but brighter red hair. Looks a spitting image to the girl, but she's probably in her mid-30s. She shoves the door closed and swings the wheel. And just at that time, you hear the ship's AI. This is a Gambit's AI. The entity is headed aft and is 30 seconds out from cryo. And you see this woman turn around and she looks at him and says, "Damn it, Rocco, get ready." And she looks at the girl and says, "You keep yourself safe behind one of those cryo things." Captain Erik Collins, you blink and you're looking out of a set of eyes at the airlock. Which one of those three have you inhabited?
I want to say I've inhabited the 19-year-old girl,
Right.
cowering behind the cryo thing.
So you're there. You are this 19-year-old girl whose first name is Jessica. You know she's Captain Alexandra's daughter, and there's a brimming discord between her. She's a teamster. You feel it in her blood. Oddly enough, this girl is a teamster of the Gambit, and she's the captain's daughter. She's young, impulsive, and trying to strike out at her own. You have no weapons on your hands. You see Captain Alexandria, this 35, 36-year-old woman. She has a gun strapped to her right hip and then a cross-strapped gun to her left. And you see her draw both guns in her hands. They got these kind of silver chasing. And she looks over her head at this giant man. "Rocco, get ready," and faces towards the airlock. What do you do, Captain Erik Collins, Jessica? On the right side, you see lockers with a number of weapons. Your mother is yelling at you to get behind one of the cryo chambers. You see a couple slug revolvers on like hooks that you would put towels on, like in a row, and you see a laser cutter, and an MMC laser cutter, which you know exactly what it is, and probably a ram horn flamethrower, just in lockers onto the right side, while your mother is yelling at you to take cover. You have no idea what's coming through.
Feeling that I know Erik Collins is not the bravest, but feeling, him embodying this like teenage impulsiveness flowing through his veins, he's going to, within her body, think, what is the best thing I can do for everyone right now? And he's gonna have her rush over to the flamethrower.
Okay.
He's like, can maneuver it because she's a teamster. She knows how things work.
So I'm gonna drop a flamethrower on. You're gonna use your own stats as you play Jessica, Captain Alexandria's daughter. Let me drop the flamethrower onto your.
And I'm assuming she says something like, "I got this, Mom. Don't worry."
You look at her and she said, "Damn it, Jessica, Elizabeth, get behind one of those cryo chambers. Don't you dare." And then she turns back when Mr. Tim says, "It's coming through the airlock." Dr. Rizal, you have no idea who these three people are. You're hovering there looking down. You see this scene before you. You realize that the one in front who draws these two slug revolvers is the captain of the ship, but you don't know her name. And you know most captains of the ship. So you probably figure out that she's a future captain of the ship that you've never met. And you blink and you're looking out of a set of eyes. Whose are they? The captains or the giant man in the back?
Sure, I'll pick the captain.
You are within Captain Alexandria, and she's the captain of the Gambit. Mr. Tim's voice, well, it's not Mr. Tim because the AI of the Gambit at this moment has none of Mr. Tim's inflection. It's just flat, as you would expect the ship's AI. You have no idea who Mr. Tim is anyways, but the other two, Erik Collins and Harm, have met Mr. Tim. But this ship's AI of the Gambit is like a ship's AI. Flat voice, monotone, no inflection. Captain Alexandria, the entity is coming through the hatch, and you are Captain Alexandria. You have these two slug revolvers. I'm just going to put them on. And you've been captain of the Gambit now for a decade. You inherited the ship when you were 26. Now you're 36. And you've made a go of it on your own, dragging your daughter with you. You became the captain, the sole captain of the Gambit, after it was inherited to you from the last captain when your daughter was probably 9. And so you and your daughter have made a life of the Gambit. The Gambit is pristine at the moment. The door is on. The airlock hasn't been busted out like the Gambit that is presently being flown. The interior still looks pristine. And you're the captain. You look over your head and you see your daughter grab a flamethrower. The Marine Rocco, who you know has been your right-hand man for 8 years, is standing behind you. He's a bit slow. And what do you do at this moment?
I go, Rocco, see if you could find anything to barricade that door. And then I kind of look at the speaker and I go, what do you call the machine? The AI? Just
Gambit's AI, ship AI.
How would I do this? Machine, give me a status. How did the entity arrive here?
Captain Alexandria, the entity phased through the hull as we were transiting hyperspace.
It phased through the hole, so
Yeah,
barricade isn't going to do anything.
Just as you see that, you see like the front end of it start coming through the airlock, which is you closed and back down. It's got this huge sluggish head with you see these feelers come through, like multiple different feelers, thousands of pinprick mouths all around it as it starts to fade through. It's probably a foot to a foot and a half in diameter as it comes phasing in through the hull itself. I will show you a picture. You know it's what's called a Gordian worm. You know the name of it, but you have no idea. It's a hyperspace entity, which is in the archives. And as you are running aft towards the cryo chamber, the ship's AI was feeding you information. The front end of it just phases through as if the door isn't there, kind of phases in and starts to solidify as it's slugging its way through the airlock.
Is there any other way out of this? As a captain, I mean, it's my ship.
Right.
There should be another way out, right?
You're locked in cryo, which only has one exit. You know, it's like a like a part of the ship off to the side. And you've closed the door to warn your crew, but there is no other exits. You could open the door, but you'd have to make it past the worm as it's starting to phase through the airlock.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's open the door. I look for something explosive.
Yeah,
like a fire extinguisher or something.
The only thing explosive the biggest weapon on the ship right now, you look to the right, you see your daughter pick up the flamethrower, and standing right next to her is an MNC laser cutter or rigging gun. I think it's a laser cutter. Yeah, because it's huge. Yeah, the laser cutter. It's like it's something that you cut through a hole or chop off, parts of giant metal when you're trying to rebuild it. It's a typical kind of Teamster tool more than a weapon, but it's huge. Like, you have to strap it over one side and pick it up on hip, the laser cutter.
All right, so I'm going to do this. I said, Jessica, sweetie, come here. Try to beckon her to come to me with the flamethrower. All right, this is what we're going to do. It's coming through the door. It's phasing, right? And I look up to the speaker. Machine, on my count, open the door. When the door opens, as it's trying to phase through, it'll probably still be stuck in it. I want you to give it 3 full seconds of fire blast. After that's over, we'll make a mad dash through to the other side.
Are you picking up the laser cutter?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. No, I just go to put it on. Okay. Captain Harm, you blink, and then you're just huge, man. You have all his memories. He's late 40s. He was a Marine for 25 years almost before. He's been with Captain Alexandria for quite some time. He's been on multiple deployments, fought on multiple planetary wars. He's beaten, survived stuff that Captain Harm can only imagine, but his memories flood into combat on stations where there's oxygen, combat on planets where he's wearing a huge suit, combat where he's driving a giant mechanical soldier. He's grizzled, a bit slow, but damn it, if he doesn't love Captain Alexandria and her daughter Jessica, he'd do anything for her. You just have his whole memories there. You see Captain Alexandria go to her daughter, set up shop, tell her daughter what to do, probably take up position. What does Harm do as she enters this giant Marine's body?
He'll probably just... Were the flamethrower and the laser gun thing the only 2 weapons that were in here?
No, you have Rocco's kit.
Okay, cool.
Harm, which is kind of like your kit because he's a Marine. But there's a submachine gun tucked in the bottom cubicle, but there's also a SK-109 Seeker Smart rifle or a X9 shotgun.
Okay.
You would probably know as a Marine that using a smart rifle in this closed space is not likely going to work well. You need too much room, but the shotgun has a bit more power than your submachine gun.
That's probably the smartest choice that I'm going to go with, because my first instinct for some reason was just to punch the thing, which does not make any sense. So...
All right, I'm gonna drag it out. We're going to initiative, but I'm gonna let Captain Alexandria and her daughter Jessica and Rocco take action, or at least Rocco watches what Captain Alexandria wants her daughter to do. So, Captain Alexandria, you tell the ship's AI to open the door.
Yeah, while it's trying to like phase through, so it kind of stays like in between the physical and non-physical,
Okay.
and hopefully it kind of like pins it a little bit, give us a little bit of reprieve, or hold it in place while we blast it, and then try to run through it. I say, Rocco, just get to the side a little bit. All right, on my count, 3, 2, 1.
Opening cryo chambers airlock on now. And you see it open, Captain Alexandria. The door swings, this big oval airlock. You feel it open, and it opens in towards you. And as it opens, it's just like it's traveling through this giant tentacled worm. Like it's not even like it's.
Yeah, it's not even. Yes,
Yeah,
it's just phasing
it's
through.
not solid. Like it's just. And it's in the middle of the opening, probably as it comes towards you, and then you see all its tentacles go rigid, and it darts. About this time, you hear the ship's AI say, "Captain Alexandria, there are 6 life forms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 life forms in cryo.
Wait. Okay. Yeah. And then we open fire, right?
I say Jessica's gonna yell something like, "Move, Mom! I'm gonna blast it."
Yeah, you do that, sweetie. Good girl.
So what I'm going to do is the ship's AI say there's 5 entities, 5 life forms in cryo, and I'm going to put you in. I'm going to have you roll speed for initiative. Jose. So okay. All right. So it bolts. It suddenly seems to thicken, and just as it's swimming through space, it's not touching anything, and it just bolts right at the three of you. What I'm gonna let you do is go first. Rocco the Marine, you get orders from Captain Alexandria. What does Rocco do?
Sorry, remind me what that was. I half heard that.
No, I can hear you. Captain Alexandria, you wanted Rocco to do what?
I was gonna tell her to tell him to stand to the side so we can not bake her and cook her at this him at the same time. But
Yeah, fair.
that was the last thing that I believe Captain Alexandria said. But that's not to say that don't defend yourself.
Yeah, you're in a line together, Rocco. So you could easily fire where you are. You're not going to be in a line of fire of the flamethrower.
Yeah, that was the last thing that I wanted. I just didn't want you to get cooked.
Got it. As long as I'm not as long as I'm in a position where I can fire, but obviously I'm not gonna get hurt by the flamethrower. I guess I'll try.
Okay. So you can click on your Cano X9 gun, and then you would probably choose military training.
Okay.
You inflict 24.
That's not bad.
Right.
Not bad at all.
We don't know how much health it has.
You
Well, looking at the size of this thing, probably a lot.
you fire, Rocco, your shotgun in this small space. It is so loud that your ears ring. You're standing there naked with the shotgun, and you fire at it as it kind of the door swings open and it's taking up the airlock. You see little bits of it as the shotgun slug tears right through it, and then hits the far wall outside in this loud kind of clink and crunch. The holes are far too thick for a shotgun slug to go through. And you pull this piece of it off, and you see this kind of huge hole, and then this part of it just kind of comes off of it and then dissipates like a cloud. Do you stand there, Rocco, or do you move? The only place you could really move is behind them, or you stay in the same sort of line in the middle of the cryo chamber.
How tall are the other two? I'm assuming I'm tall enough to like shoot over them.
Yeah, Captain Alexandria
At
is
this point.
probably like 5'4", 5'5", and her daughter maybe a little bit taller, 5'7", give or take.
Okay, I'm assuming Rocco is tall enough to shoot over them, so I'll go behind them as like not to be a
Okay.
rotisserie chicken, basically.
Roll
Rotisserie
intellect.
Marine.
Roll intellect as you move to take a position behind both Captain Alexandria and her daughter.
You said intellect?
Yeah, intellect.
This is not gonna end well for me, I can tell.
Nice.
Oh, I was wrong.
Nice.
So you go,
Okay.
you turn, you fire your shotgun, Rocco, and you turn as you pump action it. The shotgun shell goes tumbling out. And as you turn and look behind you, you see another entity phasing through the wall on the backside. You do a quick count and you realize 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, there are 5.
That's where the 5 comes from.
I was trying to do the math. Huh.
Yeah, I was like, is this thing count as 2 because it's large?
What happened to the sixth?
Right. I counted 6 first, but there's 5. Jessica Elizabeth, you're standing there with your mother naked. You hear
Nice.
Rocco's shotgun. She gives you a command or a direction on what to do. What does Jessica Elizabeth do?
For the one time since she became a teenager, she's gonna listen and do what she's been told to do. Let's it rip, and tries to empty the tank on it.
Okay.
So am I just rolling up flamethrower?
Yeah, you just roll up flamethrower.
Can I throw on industrial equipment for
I think so.
advantage?
I think I would give Jessica Elizabeth. She's akin to Erik Collins. You don't have any disconnect there, oddly.
Nice.
Oh,
Is that a crit? How's
that's
that
a
work?
crit.
Yeah,
It says
fire and
0.
explosives. Can you hit quick? Can you hit the
Fire and
button?
explosives.
Yeah, see what happens.
Major burn.
Yeah, you see the fire. First, it comes out as liquid because it's a flamethrower. And you see the liquid come out in this arching stream, and then a little flare right at the tip of the gun. and it lights, and you just see the flame travel the whole way long. And it takes a little bit of time, just that split second where the leading edge of that liquid blossoms, and then it just fireballs and engulfs this huge worm that has phased in through the thing, and you just hear this piercing scream in your ears as it shrivels up and starts to dissipate, little black motes like stars moving around in ash, and then they just kind of settle and float for a while, and it completely disappears. What do you do now, Jessica Elizabeth?
I think she's just kind of like in shock and awe of, decimating this thing and it actually working. She's like, whoa, I did that. It's her first time using a flamethrower, at least. She's
like, I yelp, 3 seconds, now run.
Yeah, she's gonna, it's like a stutter, and then she listens and dashes through the door if she can.
Okay, do a speed check for me. See if she makes it all the way through. Yeah, you are transfixed, Jessica Elizabeth. You're standing there and you just let off this flamethrower. Maybe you've never used it before, but that stream comes out and has that little light travels up that and blossoms in your eyes. It just mirrors in your eyes like a little reflection. That flame and that fireball is in your eyes, and even though your mother's yelling at you, you're just transfixed and standing there with the gun in your hand. Captain Alexandria, you're yelling at your daughter, Jessica Elizabeth, but you could see it in her face and her eyes that she's not moving. She still has her gun. She has this little maybe quirky smile, a little degree of awe. The fireball is still reflected in her eyes. What does Captain Alexander do?
I think she's kind of locked out of choice because her daughter won't run. So, does she know that the other thing's behind?
Rocco, I think Rocco sees another alien come materializing from the back end of the cryo chamber. I'd expect Rocco would yell out, or did he have time?
Or maybe that's why he Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Rocco would probably be like, guys, as much as I appreciate you doing fried calamari right now, we got another problem.
So Captain Alexander, Rocco has been a Marine for a really long time, and he'd probably yell out positioning. You'd know.
Okay.
He'd yell out what Harm said. Another incoming. We got another problem. And you maybe could see this huge shape, because he's almost there. He's almost taken up position behind you, turn away from you and face, the back wall.
Okay. I assume she's kind of some kind of fighter of some sort, being that she had like dual revolvers. So
right.
I think she would stand her ground and at the same time continually yell at her daughter to move out of there. And I think she would take the plasma cutter and blast while she's yelling, "Get out!"
Okay. So Captain Alexandra yells at her daughter, Jessica Elizabeth, who's fire struck, and turns with Rocco to face the other alien that's phasing through the hole. And just past that hole is nothing but space. And you are all getting undressed to enter cryo because you're just starting to go through hyperspace. Maybe you've been there a couple hours and before you set up the ship, and we're entering cryo, and you turn and light off the laser cutter. So you could click on the laser cutter, and you have military training.
Yes.
And so I think you could use that. Why does
Good luck, guys.
failure?
Oh, just on it too.
Right. Why does Dr. Rizal have military training?
He is a military scientist. He is his sole purpose is to create weapons of mass destruction or weapons of xenodestruction.
And how come he's no longer in the military?
Let's
Or
just say his methods were not approved or sanctioned.
you have to consider why you were in cryo on the Gambit for who knows how long, at least as long as Captain Alexandria is captain. So that's at least a decade, longer than a decade. Why he was in cryo for that long.
He's looking for another colony and or planet to continue his research. And on his persons is a spray paint. I'm thinking like the aerosol spray paint. Have you guys ever seen Jurassic Park? You know that scene?
Oh yeah. The shaving cream.
Under the shaving cream.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has, let's say, biological weapons hidden in there.
I was gonna say, how many aliens are on board this ship technically?
Yeah.
In the current time, that.
So Captain Alexandria, you're trying to get your daughter Jessica Elizabeth out, and maybe you turn to her, and at that point, the trigger on the laser cutter is really finicky. It's touchy as heck. And you turn part way to yell at her, and you depress the trigger, and the laser cutter has no kickback. It's just this, and you're halfway turned towards Jessica Elizabeth, trying to yell at her to go out the thing, and the laser cutter goes off because it's still on your hip yet. You're going to turn and fire, but you've already stuck your finger, have it on the trigger, and military training kind of is forgotten because you're trying to protect your girl, and you light off the laser cutter. The laser cutter goes obliquely, hits the hinges of the airlock, and cuts right through the hinge of the airlock, and you hear the door go, and it like hits the ground and then rolls a little bit. This huge airlock door rolls a little bit, and then goes flat against the side of the thing. So there's this little crawl space of the airlock, and the door is off its hinges now, been cut off by the laser cutter, and is hitting on the edge.
This is probably why when we received this ship, it was all jacked up.
Erik Collins, who is Jessica Elizabeth, star-eyed, you're inside Jessica Elizabeth, and her emotions, even though it's not like you're just riding in these bodies, you're like experience this event. And Erik Collins, you see the laser cutter cut the door off because it's a huge thing. It almost goes partway through the wall, and you see sparks out the other side, and you realize, oh, Mom, that's just not a weapon to use in close quarters. And you realize that in the Gambit, there's this long cut on the wall.
So that's how.
Yeah, I wonder how that happened. That's so strange.
And I want to say Eric and her have mirror thoughts of that's gonna be a pain in the ass to fix.
Right. And it attacks.
And I know, so I hear, I hear Rocco. I see my mom spin around to try to fire at it, but she misfires. So I'm gonna say, I feel like I'm gonna hit Rocco with the flamethrower if I turn around and just start spraying. I want to say she still spins around like heart thumping out of her chest and says, "Rocco, duck."
Okay.
So I don't know if I can
Oh, nice.
delay my turn
Oh,
till
that's
Rocco
supposed to Gordian
ducks.
form.
But
Never mind.
Rocco, you hear this little voice behind you, Jessica Elizabeth. Now, if there's anything Rocco would want to do is protect Jessica Elizabeth with everything he has. And you hear her little voice behind you. Duck, Rocco, duck! You probably hear the airlock door fall off or get cut off its hinges. And then hit against the door, kind of trapping you in there with this little ellipse of free space above it. You could crawl out, of the airlock. And Jessica Elizabeth yells at you, "Duck, Rocco!" And you see out of the corner of her eye this girl who's 5'7", red hair, green eyes, swing her flamethrower around. What does Rocco do?
He probably would, as much as he wants to protect her, he probably also doesn't want to become a giant shish kebab, so he'll duck real quick.
Jessica Elizabeth, Rocco, taught you how to play checkers when you were 9 and chess when you were 12. He doesn't seem like he's smart, but he even tried to teach you Go when you were 14. And he looks back at you and hits the deck. And over the top of him, because he's looking back at you, he doesn't see it. Over the top of him, this giant Gordian worm slithers through the air right over Rocco. Now, if Rocco wouldn't have ducked Jessica Elizabeth, if he would have just stood there, the Gordian worm would have hit him easy, wrapped its tentacles around his face, around to the back of his head, and then inserted its proboscis and deposited its egg. But it doesn't do that because he ducks, and he's looking at you, and all he sees is the Gordian worm fly over him, wrap around your head.
Oh no.
And you feel the proboscis go through your teeth, probably knocks out your canine, and you just feel this pulsation and gagging as this thing you swallow.
No one said my characters were smart, guys, okay? No one said they were smart.
Make a fear roll. Use your own.
Yeah. There's definitely like a swallowed yell occurring at the same time. Yes. And I'm still holding the flamethrower, right?
Yeah, but now you can't see because the thing is like wrapped around your face and head. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Captain Erik Collins. Maybe it's not Jessica Elizabeth who's in control at this moment. Maybe it is you. You've been a Teamster so much longer than she has. She's 19. She probably just has her union card 6 months, if she believes in the union at all. And this thing just wraps around her, and you feel her swallow, Captain Erik Collins. But in this moment, she's completely inoperable, as the AI would call any. What do you do?
I think she would still press on that trigger. She knows this worm is long. It's latched on her face.
Okay.
She's being attacked. So attack back. Rocco's ducked.
I would do that at disadvantage. Flamethrower at disadvantage. Please don't get a critical failure.
Find out.
Whew. Rocco, you're looking back. You see this long hyperspace worm attach itself. You can only see this long worm over you. You can no longer see Jessica Elizabeth's face. You just see her red hair out through the tentacle parts. She's completely obscured. She struggles and lays off the flamethrower. It just goes all over the top of you. You're naked, so you just feel the heat. And I see that you're 6'5", so you got to have some serious back hair, and you just smell it like shrivel.
Oh my god.
Captain Alexandria, you're probably 2 feet from your daughter,
Yeah.
maybe less.
Jessica, no.
What do you do, Captain Alexandria, as this thing is attached to her?
Being that we're relatively close, I think she would probably drop. I don't know, cut her with a laser cutter, or maybe just use the revolver and try to like kill it. At this point, she's just trying to kill it.
Okay, so you drop the laser cutter, pull out your revolver.
Yeah.
It's old style revolver, like ancient, silver with patina chasing in whorls around the handle and the barrel and the barrel.
Yeah.
You know that it's the bullets are explosive rounds, and there's 6 of them. And you fire at the thing that's attached to your daughter's face.
Yeah, probably like in the tail end to try to like blow it off.
Roll a fear check first.
Oh, not good.
Because your little girl there is... Ooh.
Yeah, not good.
So shoot with disadvantage. The whole aspect of her now attached to this.
Yeah.
What happens, Captain Alexandria?
I think she's kind of in between what action she would want to do. She's like, do I try to pull it off? Do I shoot it? So she like tries to do both, maybe. Like puts her arms around it while holding the gun, and tries to pull and at the same time tries to shoot. And I guess the way that it's like writhing as she puts the gun like into its torso, it's like writhing, it like kind of banks off the body and like goes into the hole.
Okay. Rocco, you've ducked Jessica Elizabeth. Her voice is still in your ears, and you'd do anything for that girl. And you just see her hair as she's trying to get this thing, and the flamethrower goes over your back. What does Rocco do?
He'll probably shoot at it from where he is, if he can manage it.
Okay.
Just start like shooting, like
with
try
your
to shoot at it to like try
With your-
to like distract someone.
with your shotgun.
Yeah,
This is gonna be interesting.
Okay.
yeah, that's gonna be an attempt to say the least.
You
Would I be able to add military training to it, or would I not be able to do that because I'm like lying on the floor?
Oh no, you would add military training whenever. I'd also have you make a fear check at advantage, because Captain Alexandria drug you out of a bar and gave you a job, and you've known this little girl since she was 10, and I'd have you make a fear. Can you make a fear with the advantage?
Yeah, I think so. Fear.
Oh yeah,
with
you can. So you
advantage,
just
right?
click right on fear, put military training for fear, and then advantage. Hit the advantage button.
Okay.
Oh, you just
God
missed
damn
it. Just
Oh,
missed
Okay.
it. Two. Yeah.
Yeah, it's twice.
Oh,
Twice now.
Curse this game for using D100s.
Rocco, like, shoot shotgun at disadvantage. Horrified that Jessica Elizabeth is attached to a unknown thing.
So you said disadvantage, right?
Yeah. It's the fear. It's the fear save. Or the
Okay,
fear.
would I
roll.
still be able to add my
Yeah, you add everything
military
still.
training to the...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure.
Well, at least you didn't
Jesus
get a
Christ,
at least you
okay.
at least you didn't get a critical failure.
True, that probably would have
like,
resulted in
just like all failing.
killing myself on the
I see
gun
see
or
the
something.
right. I see the
Like
Gordian
chaos.
worm. I see Jessica Elizabeth yell, "Rocco, get down!" When she flings the flamethrower towards it, it streams across Rocco's body and attaches to her face. Inserts an egg, and both Rocco and Captain Alexander, bullets
If
going
Rocco
everywhere,
has a drinking problem after this, I am sorry.
going wild. Erik Collins, roll a 1d4. Odds it's you, evens it's Captain Alexandria. All right.
Here we go.
The Gordian worm detaches, and you feel. Actually, I should have. I should have had Rocco roll, so it'll be Rocco instead of actually Jessica Elizabeth. Jessica Elizabeth, the Gordian worm lets go of you. The tentacles around your head flick off at such a thing that it rocks you back on your heels, and you just see it do this about face. Rocco is on his knees, fires his shotgun, and it streams in this rapid kind of turnabout and bolts towards Rocco.
Okay.
You're standing there as you rock back, and Rocco's face is up, and you just see it attached to him. You can still see Rocco's body because he's huge, but you can't see his face. Rocco, you have just fired your shotgun, and then your vision goes blank. You feel the tentacles around the back of your head. You feel something pushed down through your mouth. Make a fear save.
I don't know, man. I don't think this would. I can always. Oh, nice.
You swallow something.
Finally, a decent roll for once tonight.
You swallow something. Maybe you think it's thick saliva. Maybe you think it's fear that you swallow down, but it doesn't affect you. Some big lump in your throat burns all the way down to your stomach. Jessica Elizabeth, you rock back on your heels. You see it attached to the Marine Rocco. He's this huge 6'5", 320 something pound man who's carried you on your shoulders. You spit out blood. Your throat feels raw and a little bit swollen. What does Jessica Elizabeth do?
She's going to. I can't, if I try to shoot the worm, I know I'm going to set Rocco on fire.
Honestly, I think Rocco would accept that as penance for allowing you to get hurt.
No.
I
Can't hurt
think he'd
Rocco.
mind.
It's like an uncle to her. She is going to try to retrieve one of the weapons on the wall, maybe, and fire into it like that.
Okay. Like a submachine gun?
Yes.
Okay. I will drop that on your sheet. You ditch the flamethrower, goes clattering on the ground, and lean over, pick up a Arma 20 submachine gun. You flick the safety off, just like Rocco told you. Position your feet, square your shoulders. You can almost hear his voice in your ear, Jessica Elizabeth. Now, both eyes open, girl. Easy squeeze, deep breath in, deep breath out. Don't hold it.
And she's gonna spit out some blood and say, "Don't worry, Rocco, I got you," and fire her gun.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything I can add, so let's roll it up. Oh boy.
Yeah, you just hear it. Just spray bullets over it. Like maybe it was too much. Like there's a little bit of kickback, and the bullets go high up into the ceiling and conduits. And you just didn't have your feet set.
Yeah.
Perhaps you argued with Rocco and he didn't know what he was talking about. Maybe you're mad at your mother. Captain Alexandra, you see the Gordian worm let go of your daughter. She leans over and picks up an Arma 20 submachine gun and fires up into the ceiling of the cryo chamber. Rocco, this huge Marine that you rescued from drunken obscurity and gave him a job on your ship, the Gambit, who's been your right-hand man for some time, has this Gordian worm attached to his head. What do you do?
Yeah, I guess now that her daughter is not being currently attacked, I think she would take the time and carefully aim these shots.
Okay.
To kind of hopefully kill the creature.
All right. So you stand steady. Don't use your movement action. Aim. I would let you fire with advantage.
I swear to God, dude. It's like we are just not getting these rolls.
Right, you have a fairly good chance at it too.
Yeah.
What happens?
I guess seeing that her having probably felt being the one responsible for the harm that had came to her daughter, for not raising her as well as she could have, knowing that she's a disobedient teenager, where she should have hid, instead picked up a flamethrower. I think her mind was preoccupied with her overall well-being, even when she tried to steady herself for the shot. Her mind wasn't into it.
I see both of you, like Jessica Elizabeth and her mother, Captain Alexandria. Jessica Elizabeth fires up at the ceiling, and I see Captain Alexandria shoot almost in the same direction as she is realizing that she shot high and wide of Rocco.
Yeah.
Rocco, you have an alien attached to the front of your face, tentacles around the back of your head, all this pressure you can't see, can barely breathe, it's suffocating you. What does Rocco do?
I'm assuming the shotgun doesn't have any. I don't know much about guns, so I can't say that. But if it does have any rounds left, he'll shoot it, or if not, he'll just attack, just like start trying to whack at it with the gun, like the actual body of the gun.
You could do either. A pump shotgun generally has more than 2 rounds.
Okay.
Depending
I
on
know Gooster. I don't know too much about guns because.
And in the past, we gave Ace advantage when he just buried the barrel into the alien that he fought.
Sure.
You can feel the alien out in front of you. The shotgun's big, but you could perhaps bury it in there and fire at advantage.
Okay, I'll do that because Lord knows I need to get this thing off of me.
29.
So, Jesus, do I do the wound effect too?
Yeah, you could roll gunshot. Or just for fun, see what happens.
Strength one? Did you say?
It usually the wound effect is at the bottom where it says gunshot. You could just, if the script doesn't work, I can do it for you.
I don't know why, because it's every time I tried doing that, would I have to target myself or would I have to target the?
No, I can do it for you. I don't know why it's not rolling.
Creature, because.
Was that me? Sorry.
You. I don't like every time I always have like issues with that for some reason.
So, Rocco, you bury the shotgun in. You can barely hear it because the tentacles are around your face and ears and back of your head. Jessica Elizabeth and Captain Alexander, who is standing almost shoulder to shoulder, fire rounds up into the ceiling over your head. And the alien detaches and is blown up into the air. You see it quiver there for a bit, and then it starts to move, turns around, and starts to move towards the back bulkhead and starts to fade as it's moving to the back bulkhead. Jessica Elizabeth, you see Rocco probably take a big deep breath. He's got red marks around his bald head, around the side. Both you and him have been kissed by the Gordian worm, and you see him blow it off himself. And then it turns and starts to fade as it's moving towards the back bulkhead wall. What does Jessica Elizabeth do?
Probably drops her gun and goes to like inspect herself because she knows something went inside of her. I'm assuming as the adrenaline probably starts to wear off, she's like, what happened? What is inside of me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jessica Elizabeth, you like drop your submachine gun and you're a little wobbly on your feet. You have this gnawing kind of nausea and a little bit heat right under your xiphoid processor, the bottom of your rib cage, and you check your whole body over and you don't feel any different. Your pulse is rapidly going, but you figure that's probably from combat. And your throat feels raw. At the moment, you don't feel much different aside from shaky and a little bit of stress and shock maybe. But your body feels normal for the moment.
Is there a med bay on ship? How do I know about like the capabilities there?
Yeah, you have a med bay. It's out and up 2 cubicles, really. It's a minor med bay. It doesn't have like advanced surgery or that sort of thing. On a ship like a Gambit, if anyone is survivable but can't have surgery, They just put him in cryo.
Do I know if we have like X-ray, like something like a scanning?
Probably have some sort of vital scanner.
Yeah, I turn to my mother and I say, I think we need to get to the med bay. I don't feel too good.
Yeah, so I'll help her. I'll put her arm on my shoulder and we'll start making our way to the med bay. All the while, I'll look up to the ceiling and go, machine, any idea of what's happening to them?
They are phasing out of the hull, Captain Alexandria. It is escaping back into hyperspace.
Not them, us.
Cameras would indicate that both Rocco and Jessica Elizabeth have been infected by the Gordian worm.
What are the recommended courses of action?
They cannot enter cryo during hyperspace until the eggs hatch.
And how would they hatch?
They must hatch while they're in hyperspace, and then the worms will phase out of their body and complete their life cycle.
Any harm to the bearer?
There have been reports of death through hyperspace, but that's mainly because of hyperspace risk. Those who have survived the Gordian worm, it just depends on how long it takes them to hatch.
Is there any way to extricate them of the Gordian worm?
Unfortunately, Captain, there is not. There has been many attempts, all ending in failure and terrible death.
As Jessica hears this, she just gets a look on her face like, oh no. I say, I turn to my mom, like, Mom, am I gonna die? Are me and Rocco gonna die?
It's gonna be all right.
Oh God.
Push her hair back. It's gonna be all right. Hold her close.
Rocco, go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead. I was trying to figure out what I want to do next.
Rocco, you're kneeling there on the floor as Captain Alexandria grabs her daughter and starts moving her towards the airlock, that door that's partly askew and across the exit because it's been lasered off. The Gordian worm has turned around and is headed toward the back bulkhead. It started to phase out. What does Rocco do?
Well, it doesn't seem like it's attacking us anymore, but I'll obviously apologize to the captain and just kind of wait and make sure that the worm is leaving. He's actually gone before following them.
Okay. So you just let it leave and phase out of the bulkhead walls. Correct?
Yeah, because,
okay.
I mean, I don't want other people to get hurt, but at the same time, it's how many people are actually, not in cryo sleep at that point anyway. So
Rocco is on his knees. He has the same sort of gnawing nausea and raw throat, but, to him, as a Marine of his caliber, it's just another day. And Captain Alexandria gets her daughter up, starts walking towards medbay. Each of you kind of blink, and you're now hovering above them. Erik Collins, who used to be Jessica Elizabeth, and Dr. Rizal, who used to be Captain Alexandria, a captain he doesn't know, and Harm, who had for a brief moment had been a fellow decorated Marine, first name Rocco. You see the captain help her daughter. Rocco gets up and then physically moves the metal airlock door out of the way for them so that they can get by. And Captain Alexandria helps her daughter over the rim, the lower knife edge of the door. She takes one step and a second step, and she kind of buckles her knees a little bit. And Rocco sits on a cryopod, with his hands up, and it starts to fade a little bit. And then you see Captain Elizabeth look up to the ceiling, and you hear that voice in your head. Now you know. What you need to know. Now you know. And then it all fades out. And then all of a sudden you're choking. Each of you. You are being rapidly awoken by the AI, Mr. Tim. And you have your cryo lids pop. You're not even fully awake yet, but your cryo lids are already open. And the cryo chambers are already starting to lean down a little bit in position to help you out. The tubes are just coming out. You are blinking in the light, and you see those orange lights that Captain Erik Collins and Captain Harm have seen before. And you barely hear Mr. Tim's voice. Emergency! Emergency! It's really muffled and far out. There's a third cryo chamber that's also open that has Dr. Rizal. It's 3 or 4 cryo chambers down from Erik Collins. I'd like each of you to make a body save as you are forcibly ejected from cryo sleep.
Not my highest
Yeesh.
stat.
Woo!
Oh, I
Nice.
did it.
Shit.
All right. Dr. Rizal, you are wide awake and you come out of cryo, and just body mechanics and memory recall, you swivel your feet up and take the IV that had been auto inserted into your arm. The bindings of your legs and arms are already loose. The combi tube that had been down both your esophagus and your trachea has already been taken out, and you blink and you're in the Gambit. You recognize the cryo chamber, but you're the first to wake up or be fully awake and are not affected by cryo sickness. And you look over and you see these 2 individuals struggling out of their cryo chamber, and their heads kind of pop up and look at you. Describe what Dr. Rizal looks like.
So, Dr. Rizal is his hair is kind of, they're dark black hair, a little bit frazzled. You can see that the stress lines on his face. A man who is always having like a calculated look, always thinking through his actions and yeah.
Okay. Dr. Rizal, you have no idea who these 2 people are.
Okay. So
you don't feel cryo sick. You know this is the Gambit, but you look around, it's missing the airlock door. But you remember why that is. That dream of you being this Captain Alexandria hasn't been lost for some reason. And you remember the door being lasered off by your own hand, per se,
Yeah.
when you're the captain. And these 2 people are waking up who are obviously cryo sick. You hear this odd voice of the AI of the ship, but it sounds distinctly different than you have ever heard the ship talk before. It has this lilting kind of emotion, and the AI of the Gambit says, "Emergency, emergency, life form detected in main hangar bay. Life form detected in main hangar bay. Emergency cryo sleep. Abort." With this
Good
doctor.
heavens. It's like, it wasn't a dream, and now into a nightmare. He'll kind of like just rub his face, stretch out a little bit, and he'll look over at the cryo chambers, the ones where they're struggling. And I guess you would just go over there and just pop the emergency seals.
Or help one of them out?
Yeah.
Which one? You Harm or Captain Erik Collins, who you haven't met yet, but which one would you help? A smaller man or obviously a man who's built for combat?
I think he would go for the combat veteran.
Captain Harm, you swing out of cryo, obviously cryo sick. You're immediately nauseous and it comes up to your chin and maybe you swallow it back down. And there's this man helping you out of your cryo chamber who you've never seen before. What does Harm do?
Harm will, try not to vomit on him, but B, also, look at him quizzically, but, kind of nod, in gratitude, because he's not exactly the best with words.
Doesn't even phase Harm, right? That some unknown person is helping him out of cryo. This happens all the time to Marines, probably.
There's also the fact that the last time he came out of cryo, his legs were, getting squished to death. Not the weirdest thing that's happened to him out of cryo, so...
Describe Harm for us. Or at least for Dr. Rizal.
So... I'm trying to remember how I described Harm last time. He kind of looks like one of those, detectives that, you'd expect to, work on those, offbeat cop shows, I guess, that, kind of has, a little bit of, a 5 o'clock shadow. And, short, kind of cropped hair, but not, completely, buzzed like you'd expect a Marine to be. So...
So, Dr. Rizal, you help this man out that obviously is built like a Marine, although he's smaller in stature, at least width-wise, at a cryo who's under the throes of cryo sickness. Erik Collins, you struggle out of your cryo chamber and you hear Mr. Tim's warning. There's little orange lights that are flashing, although some of them don't flash, some of them just flicker, but that's to be expected on the Gambit. One of them is probably just down facing and just barely hanging on to its little thread. It's partly broken off and wiggling a little bit.
Just another thing to fix.
Right. You're cryo sick. Oh, no, you're not. Yeah, you are. You're cryo sick and immediately nauseous and shaking and shivering a little bit.
Erik throws up.
You throw up all over the floor.
Yep.
And Harm is probably in the cryo chamber next to you with this unknown man helping him out. What does Erik Collins do?
Erik is going to weakly climb out and try to fish out a stim pack if there are any left.
Yep. You got a couple stim packs in the second drawer of most of the cryo stations. You open the drawer, there's 2 in there, and you use a stim pack, right?
Yep.
Let me put it on your sheet. Probably be a good idea. I think you can roll it straight off of the...
I think I already have one on here. Stim pack. I didn't roll anything though. Just 1d10 health. Yep. So do you just want me to roll a 1d10?
Yeah, just roll 1d10 to health, and you get advantage on most rolls for the next 10 minutes.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Nice.
It doesn't fix your wound. You still have a wound because you're still...
Yes.
And so what would happen when you take the stim pack for the short period of time is that you're not at disadvantage for being doomed. Because Erik Collins is doomed. Right?
Yes.
Right. And so it negates the doomed effects. I believe your doomed puts you at disadvantage for most everything. Yeah.
When all critical
Oh,
successes are critical failures.
So well, I think that would still roll. You just get advantage, so doom would still last. Imagine if you roll a critical success while under Stimpack, that would definitely seat doom in you.
Yep.
Do you do anything else after you hit the Stimpack?
I look over to this person haven't seen on the ship yet, and I say, "Who are you exactly?"
Dr. Rizal. And you?
My name's Erik Collins. I'm the ship's teamster. Nice to
Well,
meet you.
Mr. Collins. And you? And I look at Harm.
Harm will, after, like, he'll do a stim pack and he'll just kind of be like, I am Harm. I'm a Marine. Just do that. Like, how do I do the stim pack? Oh, never mind. Did that.
Yeah, you could do a stim pack too. There's stim packs available.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like, I want to reduce my stress even by a point, dude. Like,
so roll 1d10. I don't know if Harm needs 1d10. Oh yeah, you have some damage, not a lot, but
I do. But I like, if I do more than 2, then I don't need more than 2.
Right, so you just get 2 and you reduce your stress by 1. So Dr. Rizal, the Marine Harm, and the Teamster Erik Collins, you're standing there as Mr. Tim reminds you of the emergency in the hangar bay of life forms. But you have a cordial greeting while naked out of cryo.
I said, Mr. Harm, would you be so kind as to inspect the hangar bay, as there seems to be a life form there? You would probably do best to wear your gear, as we don't know the nature of this beast yet.
While I quickly get my gear on, I'll probably be like, Mr. Tim, can you explain what you know about this entity?
Captain Harm, there are 5, 3, 7. There are 1 life form in the hangar bay. No, there are 4. Captain Harm, there are life forms in the hangar bay.
Mr. Tim, is one of them the one that we fully expect to be there?
No, Captain Harm. These life forms are in the main hangar bay. Captain Max and the alien are in the aft starboard hangar bay.
Okay, good to know. The difference on...
There are definitely 2 life forms in that hangar bay.
Okay, that's the hangar I was thinking of, thank you. And then once I'm done with my gear, I'll go to the hangar that the fluctuating numbers are coming from.
So, Harm, you gear up, put on your armor, get your weapon, and are going to head out of cryo. Erik Collins, this new Dr. Rizal, has asked Captain Harm to check out the hangar in this emergency. What does Erik Collins do?
Erik Collins is also going to get dressed, and he definitely straps that pistol that he has. That I think it's a revolver. Yeah, he definitely straps that revolver that Max gave him planet side on his waist, because he's like, don't want to get caught naked again. And before he goes to follow Harm to make sure everything's okay, he's gonna look at the other pods in the room. Are there any other living cryoed people other than Ace?
So
here?
Harm leaves and turns aft to walk down the central conduit or gangway to the main hangar. You gear up, strap on your pistol just as Harm's leaving to do what Marines do, and you go to the cryo chambers. There's 12 of them. You have Ace in one. You came out of 2, and Dr. Rizal. So there's 8 others. Of the 8 others, you realize that 6 of them have green blinking lights. You go to each one and you forearm frost off the central window. There's like a central window that you could look down at someone in cryo. Max has done this obvious to you many times. You just don't know it. How often he's looked at you, you have no idea. But he's clean off that window. And there's a little keypad with a little LCD that gives you like a readout, heart rate, vital functions, that sort of thing. Blood pressure mainly and heart rate, respiratory rate, but they all have combi tubes. You look and you see different individuals in each one, men, women. There's 6 of the 8 have other individuals in them. All you really see is a little piece of their face and maybe the upper lip, and they have a combi tube, which is an auto-inserted. Once you're asleep in cryo and in position, the mechanical nature and arms of cryo put in the IV and put this combi tube, which is a dual lumen tube. One goes into your esophagus and one goes into your trachea to provide respiratory. And then the cryo chamber floods. You don't have a urinary catheter or anything else. That's all in the milieu of the fluid that you're in cryo. And then your temperature is decreased. You don't notice any of them except for one. You come to maybe the last one and you look down in it and you see what looks like your mother. That's the first thought you have come to you because you're most recently been Jessica Elizabeth. You don't see Rocco. You don't see Jessica Elizabeth. You don't find yourself in one of those viewports. But you look down, and the first thing, before you even recognize who it is, comes to your mind and says, your mother, like, Mama. There's Mama there. But it's really Captain Alexandria. And even though you don't recognize her because she has this long slash down one eye, and the one eye is closed, and you almost see the stitches, and part of her skull is, the hair is missing. And in her red hair that used to be very vibrant, you just see gray hair of Captain Alexandria. But you recognize her in this last, cryopod number 7. What does first roll sanity, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's see. Oh, would I've had advantage on that because of the stim
Oh
pad?
yeah, you would have had. Just roll it again.
Okay.
Ah, very good.
It's much better. Okay.
Don't forget to drop your stress by 1.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. Wait. Oh, okay. I'll go back tonight.
So you're looking down at your mother, Captain Alexandria. You shake off Jessica Elizabeth from your brain. What do you think, Erik Collins?
Until I, was sure of my sanity, I found myself like regressing into the mind of a 19-year-old about to like hit the pad, wake her up, do whatever, and I'm like, hold on, no, stop. Okay, that was obviously just a dream. Some weird deja vu is happening, hyperspace, cryo sickness, whatever I can think to rationalize what I was thinking.
Are you doing this out loud? Like, does it hit you in that sort of frame that you...
I do a mumble. I mumble to myself, and I proceed to rush out the room to follow Harm.
Okay. Before you rush out, Dr. Rizal, you watch this new Teamster you met, whom the ship AI has called Captain Erik Collins, and oddly called the Marine Harm Captain Harm, start looking at each of the cryo chambers and then pauses at one of them and maybe cleans it off again with his forearm, and you just hear him mumbling him to himself a little bit. I don't know if you catch any of the words or what does or anything like that. What does Dr. Rizal do?
So for the first part of Erik Collins, like clearing out the checking out the cryo chambers, he didn't really pay attention because he was trying to secure his spray can to make sure it was exactly where he left it, and tucking it into I'm assuming he's dressed right now into his like lab coat.
Yeah, I think it's muscle memory. Dr. Rizal, you go to a locker which none of the others have checked before, and there's a padlock on it with spin numbers. And you walk there in like a fugue state and spin the numbers, 3 little numbers, and click. Yeah. Open it up, and there's your spray can.
Yep. This is like odd thing, but he puts it in his lab coat, and then as he gets to the last one and he hears him mumbling about something, he kind of sighs like, Mr. Collins, do you think we have time for this right now? I believe your presence is expected in is better suited with assisting Mr. Harm.
I'm trying to think of how Erik would respond to this. I say, how about you come with me? Maybe you should grab. Is there any other weapons in the room?
Yeah, I mean, you have Ace's weapons too.
Yeah.
He'll pull out a rigging gun that he has in his locker also.
I say, yeah, you're probably gonna need that.
All right.
Based on how this day is going.
So, Captain Erik Collins and Dr. Rizal gear up. Takes them a little bit longer because they start doing that just as Harm leaves, goes aft. Harm, you go aft along the aft causeway. Now, the main hangar has 2 ladders. One 4 ladder, which leads to the front of the hatch. You go down a hatch, enter a hatch in the front or the fore part of the main hangar, and then one mid hangar or midships that's a little bit further that exits on the starboard side. Which one do you take? The fore or the midships ladder well?
Whichever one will get me there, like the quickest, I guess. If they both go to the same place, then whichever one gets me there quickest.
Yeah, you'd hit the 4 ladder well first. The causeway or walkway that leads from the front to the back of the ship is in the middle, and it's up above the hangar bay, almost like a catwalk, but you can't necessarily see in the hangar bay itself. But the catwalk of the ladderway goes across the ceiling, and there's 2 ladder wells. You hit the 4 ladder well first. It's narrow. If you've been on a ship or you're actually a Navy Space Marine, you probably could go up 2 at a time, 1 down, 1 up, easy. You guys know how to move through the ladder well, and you slide down the ladder well, hit the hatch, and open the hatch. You step out into the main hangar. The main hangar is huge. It's a football field and a half, 150 meters long. It's about 50 to 60 meters or 50 yards high, and it's probably another 100 yards, 100 meters wide. So it's this huge hangar bay because that's what the ship is built for. And as you step out, you realize that one half of the hangar is in darkness because the hangar lights are not working. The other half, the hangar lights are working. They're just dim, so it casts like this half light, half shadow of the main hangar, which is to be expected on the Gambit. As you're going down the ladder well, your little communicator, Mr. Tim, is giving you reports. Captain Harm, there are 3 life forms in the hangar. You get like halfway down. Captain Harm, there are 7 life forms in that hangar. You get down to the bottom. Captain Harm, there are 1 life form in the hangar. And as you step through it, you see this hangar that's in half light, half shadow. In the middle of the hangar, 75 yards or so, 75 meters, is a figure, humanoid figure, dressed in what looks like red, grungy armor. It's got a helmet on, low on its head, goggles, some sort of rebreather mask in the center. And it's just standing there in the center of the hangar, probably right in the middle of that half light, half complete darkness. You step out of the forward ladder well, which ends up a little bit into the darkness area, and take that one step in past the hatch. They kind of looks like that, if you can see the picture. What does Harm do?
Well, obviously, Harm is not going to recognize any of the forms, I'm assuming. So, he'll probably just step one or two more steps in, but not like too far in case like Erik Collins or Dr. Like in
Rizal.
case either Rizal come in.
Okay.
Like just to like give them a little bit of a buffer.
So you take 2 or 3 steps in, and then you hear this kind of metallic wheezing voice. You kind of know what that sound is like because you've been in combat in a full HAZ suit where your voice is mechanically transmitted, and that's what you hear from the depths of the hangar from this red armored figure. Greetings! Greetings! It is good to meet you. Come and we will finalize your joining of the Brotherhood.
May I ask who you are first?
I am 1534B9. I am in charge of this operation. And you are?
I am Harm.
That is expected. You do not have a designation number. But as soon as you join us and come into the light, we will give you one. Step forward.
May I wait until the others who may potentially join the Brotherhood are available?
Absolutely. We have plenty of time in hyperspace.
I'll just gently kind of whisper to Mr. like, hey, tell Erik Collins, take your time.
Erik Collins, you and Dr. Rizal probably just leave cryo, and you hear Mr. Tibbs' voice. He's coming along those janky speakers that are strung out along the causeway, though. He's not going into your personal communicator. You just hear him say, Captain Erik Collins, Captain Harm has said for you to delay.
Delay what? What's to Mr. Tim? What's in the hangar? Who are they?
I have readings of 2 life forms, humanoid, in the hangar. One is Captain Harm, and he has asked that you take your time.
Okay. Is there anywhere I can pull up like cameras? Are there working cameras in this ship?
Yeah, they're in the pilot house.
Okay. How far am I from the pilot house? Would I be passing?
Yeah, you guys are going aft. You would just have to turn around and go forward.
Okay, well, Harm said to take my time, so I'll just turn around and go to the pilot house and see if I can check the bay.
So, Erik Collins does an about face, and Dr. Rizal's right there. He probably almost like.
I'd say, Dr. Rizal, maybe go back up Harm. I'm gonna go check the cameras, see what's happening down there.
Well, we don't have a feed by the closer to the hangar.
Have you seen the state of this ship, Doctor?
Yeah, Dr. Rizal, as you're walking through, you've been on the Gambit on better days. The halls were good. Everything was gleaming. You see, like, as you're going aft, you come to the aft airlock that portions off the aft part of the ship with the forward part of the ship in case there's any sort of hull integrity issue. And that airlock door is like tilted off its thing. And you know, to get it to close on its knife edge, you have to shove it closed. There's metal, the conduits above you are stringing wires, and there's drips. As you're standing there, a little bolt falls out of the ceiling and hits you in the shoulder, clink, and then on the ground. The walls themselves are bent or burnt or buckled. You see probably the conduit that Max shorted himself out, burnt wire. So when you look around, you see a Gambit that's completely different than what you're accustomed to.
He will bend over and then pick up the bolt and like hold it up. I see you have a point, and he would hand it to to Erik Collins. I'm like, you'll probably need to fix that later. All right.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just continue headed down to the hangar bay.
Okay. So Erik Collins, you about face to go up to the pilot house, and Dr. Rizal, you go to the hangar bay. You know that you're elevated above, and you come to the forward ladder well, and you're going to go down the forward ladder well to meet Arm. Erik Collins, you turn forward, you go forward past a number of cubicles, and you come to the 4 steps leading into the pilot house, and you smell baking.
I'll say again. What the hell is happening on this ship?
As a player, I have a theory. As an actual character, no.
Do I see? Was it bread last time? Was it cookies?
Yeah. You walk up those 4 steps in the pilot house, and there's this little plastic plate with 4 chocolate chip cookies on it.
I move them to the side so I can.
Does Erik Collins like chocolate chip cookies?
He loves them.
Oh. It's like a double whammy. You have this urge to partake in chocolate chip cookies.
Like, when was the last time that our characters actually ate?
Yeah.
What do you do as you are standing there at the console? There's a plate of chocolate chip cookies next to you.
Eat the dubious space cookies.
I push the cookies slightly out of reach, and I reach over to the console, turn on the cams, and
Okay.
I go. I check myself, and I'm like, have I gone crazy yet? What's happening?
You refrain from eating the chocolate chip cookies. There's a subtle smell of nutmeg to them and cinnamon. You have this fleeting thought that you've tasted them before, and then it vanishes when Mr. Tim says, "Captain Collins, only 3 cannons are active in the hangar bay, 2 forward and 1 midships. I will turn them on to you." You see like 9 in a row of 9 little squares, but 6 of them are like static. And then 3 of them, you see 2 front views of the hangar bay and 1 midships. Unfortunately, the midships in the dark part of the hangar bay, so it's bright and you can barely see it because it can't manage the exposure, and it's overly bright because it's sitting in darkness because those lights are broken, and you see just a blur of white light and this little red figure in it. The 2 fore views, one is cantered a little bit, like maybe it's leaning, and you see Harm, and then maybe 25 yards in front of him, but that's it, just the top of Harm's head, and you probably see Dr. Rizal step out into the hangar bay. And then the other one, you can have this full view of the hangar bay. half the lights on the starboard side, all the lights on the starboard side are out, and the lights on the port side are dim and skittery, and the hangar bay is thrown half in and half out of shadow. And you're watching and you see this red armored figure in the center of the hangar bay, and it's just waiting. Harm isn't moving. You probably see Dr. Rizal take a step out of the stairwell as he's transiting the forward stairwell from the one down facing can. And then you're watching, and the figure in the center, for whatever reason, takes its rifle and starts spinning it.
I hit my comms and I say, Harm, what the hell is happening down there? I've got eyes on you guys in the hangar bay. Poor eyes, but eyes.
Harm will just respond. We have an invitation to the Brotherhood, as I understand it.
Does Erik know what the Brotherhood is?
No one knows what the Brotherhood is.
Oh, fuck.
Mr. Tim goes, "What Brotherhood? I wasn't invited to any Brotherhood."
Neither was I, Mr. Tim. Doctor, do you know what the Brotherhood is?
Can I roll for something?
I think so. I think, Dr. Rizal, you've been on this ship for an uncertain amount of years. Dr. Rizal hasn't really figured out how long has it been. Has it been 3 decades? Has it been 75 years? Has it been 200 years? Who knows? Ships like these can be really old. So I would have you roll. Let's see what you have as skills. I would probably let you roll intellect with exobiology.
Okay. Not good.
Oh, and you didn't use the stim pack, so you don't get the extra.
Yeah.
You don't. You haven't come across them. You have an inkling. And the issue is, Dr. Rizal, is you have very little memory of the past. You remember crawling into the cryo chamber. Maybe you have a brief idea of why you crawled into it and the captain with whom you were with. But you are still struggling to figure out what the hell happened. And you've lost those 30 years or so of your life. You haven't recovered them because you've been in cryo so long. They're locked away yet, and you just can't remember.
At the moment, Mr. Collins, I cannot recall. The cobwebs of time are slowly unraveling.
Well, I guess maybe ask them kindly to get the hell off our ship, so we can get rid of these artifacts and get those credits and maybe fix some of these cameras.
Do we have anything of import in the hangar bay?
The hangar bay is empty, completely empty. It's this cavernous space. When you step out to stand next to Harm, your footfalls echo throughout the hangar bay because it's just empty. And as soon as that echoing goes through the hangar bay, the figure in the center goes, "Fantastic! Another for the Brotherhood. Step up then. We will begin. You can take the oath and cast off this fake life that you are leading. Do not let your memories deceive you. They are false, and they have been implanted by the machine. Step forward, and we will enlighten you."
Fanatics.
Her will just go, "I have a few things. One, we still have one person to wait for. And 2, may I ask some more questions?"
"Sure, but you must move forward. You are so far away, I am shouting. I will give you 35 seconds, starting now."
I'll move up like 3 or 4 steps.
Okay, you're like 75 yards away from him. You have
I'm
no.
moving forward. I'm not moving I'm not moving any closer to him than I have to. I understand
Hey.
he's shouting, but I don't want to die.
Dr. Rizal and
Yeah.
Dr. Harm have no idea how he's hearing you from that far away, unless you're screaming at him. His voice is echoing around this metallic kind of tinny. You can hear him breathe.
Actually, make that 3 or 4 feet.
So you
make it
stay,
seem like I'm actually somewhat trying to hear him better.
You just see him snap to, and he looks to the side. At this time, Mr. Tim says, Captain Collins, there are now 4 life forms in the hangar bay. And you see these little red dots pop up on the dark starboard side. And as soon as you look, Erik Collins, down there, you see them, these 3 mailed figures, armored figures, and then they disappear. What questions do you have, Harm, soon to be brother?
May I ask how you have so graciously joined us on our ship?
With truth and veracity, all things are possible. Come, we will teach you. And then you see him blink out. And then he blinks in, and he's standing 10 feet away from you. Ah, this is so much better. I can see your face. You are a lovely man. And you, too. May I have your name? Soon to be brother. He looks at Dr. Rizal. He's standing right there. He's got this red, full plate armor. What looks like an ancient shotgun with this curling little thing and tracing up the sides, double barrel, side by side, sawed off, probably a 16 gauge, nothing big. He's not hunting for deer, for goodness sake. And goggles, you can't see anything. He has this mask on.
No, knowing that these are probably some kind of aliens of some kind, being able to phase in, phase out. I'm curious if the air that we are breathing is toxic to them, which is why they're wearing the masks. I prefer to do introductions face to face.
Yes, that would seem true. And you see him go. And it just hangs there, his little breather, and he takes a breath of air. Okay. Smells like oil and grease. My daddy would be proud. He takes off one of his gauntlet gloves. He's got 4 fingers. He's missing a thumb. You would know it's a man, or you think it's a man, because his hands are huge, knuckled. Mm-hmm. Puts out his hands. I am 5'3", 4 feet, 5'6", 4B.
At this point, I don't know where. I think it's just thinking how Dr. Rizal would be thinking through this.
His face looks human. He's got a human nose, lips, teeth. They're a little bit yellowed, blackened on the edge. He's got a little bit of stubble, but he really just has one of those, like, what are they called? Soul patches. Really little tiny thing right here on his lower lip, because he has to have a seal to his mask, so he doesn't really have a beard.
So yeah, he'll take that hand.
Okay.
He'll take that hand. And he's like, Dr. Rizal. I think he'll even squeeze a little because he doesn't have a thumb.
he wraps his fingers.
One of those like awkward like handshakes where you grab like your hand, they don't get like a full.
He wraps his 2 fingers on either side of your wrist like this, and he has it like this, and he just shakes it. It is great to meet a new brother. Are you ready for the truth, Dr. Rizal? You will give up that name and those memories that have been falsely implanted by the machine. There are 15 seconds left for your questions.
Why the timer?
You must make a choice.
Is your God in such a hurry?
Oh, we do not have God. There is no truth in a deity.
May I ask what you learned from the machine?
You learn nothing from the machine. The machine puts false memories into you. We are here to liberate you from the machine of your existence, and the falseness of what you travel. The memories they implant as you travel through hyperspace to make you what you are. Come with us, and you will be real again.
Why liberate us while we're in hyperspace? Is it because of the false memories?
Because only truth lives in hyperspace. You must exit with us into the glory of the void.
We cannot live in the void.
We will teach you. We will give you what we wear. Puts on his thing. You see it like suck to his face. And then he blinks out. Blinks back in about halfway. And he gives you this jaunty wave. And then you see him blink out again, and he's standing back in front of you. We can teach you all, Dr. Rizal, if you
Some
enter the
very
void with us.
interesting technology. I'm not sure what year this is.
There are no years with the truth, Dr. Rizal. You will give up counting days. You will only count life moments.
Will I still be able to continue my work?
He kind of looks at you and says, "What work is that?" Brother to be.
I don't know how I want to play this. It's like we're kind of out. We're kind of like out technology. We're out, man. We don't have the technology. Not sure how I want to play this. Any thoughts? I guess I'm asking the group how you guys want to play this.
Erik Collins comes over the speaker and it's like, these guys are popping in and out. Maybe should we drop out of hyperspace? Can I hear what they're saying over the?
I think so. Like they have these little personal
it's over.
communicators.
Okay.
And you get a second kind of audio, like a delayed audio from from a recording. Mr. Tibb, it jangles you a bit.
I ask, I'm just thinking of options right now while they're stalling, basically, and I'm like, Mr. Tim, can we? Is it safe for us to drop out of hyperspace like immediately?
Captain Erik Collins, you know that would have disastrous effect. 5 out of 100 would survive. The arrest would shake their ship to pieces. We can't eject this soon. The protocol would take at least 30 minutes.
All right. When I give you the signal, initiate the protocol to slowly get us out of hyperspace safely.
Do you mean now, Erik Collins?
Yes. Let's as safely as possible exit out of hyperspace because these guys seem to be utilizing it somehow.
Are we doing this secretly, Captain?
As secretly as you can, Mr. Tim.
Okay. You sure you don't want to have one of those cookies? And then you see this little blue light go off. Beep, bleep, bleep, bleep. And you see this little counter pop up on the screen. Starts to count down from 30 minutes. 29, 6:59, 29, 58, 29, 57.
I'll have a cookie when we exit hyperspace.
Okay. Initiating procedures to exit hyperspace. I have not told the other two. They may hear.
Good idea. I'm going to go. I'm going to go join them and see if we can buy some time. Do you? Where'd those other signatures go? Are they still on the ship?
There are 3 life forms in hangar bay.
Okay.
There are 2 life forms in the aft starboard hangar. Those are Max and his alien.
Yes.
Don't you think it would be better to stay with me, Captain Collins? You could shut the pilot house airlock, batten down the hatches, and if the other two die, at least we will survive.
It appears, as much as I want to say yes, it appears they can appear anywhere on our ship, it seems. And I don't think it matters if they appear in here with me alone.
Yeah, you're like halfway through that, and Mr. Tim has just laughed. He hasn't learned how to laugh yet. It's kind of flat, like a monotone. Captain Erik Collins, that was just a joke. I must have Max teach me better.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? Maybe don't talk to Max too much right now.
That is wise, I think. Captain Harm and Dr. Rizal, you're in the hangar bay, and the entity who has given you his designation number unlocks his hand and says, "Are you ready to join Truth and enter with us to the void? You have exactly 8 seconds to make your decision. 7, 6.
I thought the timer was for the questions,
5.
not for our decision.
You've been talking this whole time. 4. What questions do you have? We have told you all you need to know. Do you decline our offer?
What would we learn that would, you don't have to go into specifics, obviously, but what general concepts would we be able to learn and or gain from your generous offer?
You would learn the importance of the presence of your mind, the beating of your heart, the rising of hairs on your arm when you first see your daughter born in the void. You would learn life, Captain, or Harm. You would learn life. Did Harm give his name? I think so.
Yeah.
You would learn life, Brother Harm. You would cast off those names of others, memories that you are not truly yours and have been implanted. You would live free with us in the void, in the darkness of hyperspace.
So you happen to have a daughter then?
No. I would say you would have a daughter. It was hypothetical. Stay with me, Harm. Stay with me. The machine is trying to take care of you.
Wait, so
yeah,
the
keep
machine
doing that. Confuse him.
Wait, so the machine is what you're trying to save us from, or the machine is what
Yes.
you're... Okay.
The machine of your false existence. The memories that are implanted as you leave hyperspace to make you what you are. Untrue falsehoods. You are not what you think you are. You are only what they tell you you are. Join us, and you will be free to be what you are.
So you believe in the absolutes of the zeros and ones, like the machine?
He kind of looks at you, snaps to a pause. You have 2 seconds to make your choice. 2, 1. Stands
I
up.
fire. I take. I say I decline. Fire. It's like I don't know, man. I don't know.
Apparently, Harm, despite being a Marine, was trying to distract as much as possible and go the route of peace for some reason.
Yeah, I was hoping you would be able to like confuse the crap out of them because they seem to be very talkative.
So you're gonna
But,
shoot
yeah.
him?
He was confusing me, and I was just like, maybe if he keeps talking.
Yeah, I was
I'm
hoping that.
confused
Yeah, I
enough,
was hoping that was gonna happen.
Then
But,
he'll
like
keep talking.
this time
and confuse me more.
countdown, I don't think it would settle, a military scientist who has any kind of like military background. I mean, I don't know. It's basically it's an active threat. He is armed. He is, obviously outnumbered. I'm not sure that, having his mind wiped, especially considering, he has a mission that he's trying to achieve, to detract for that. So I feel like Dr. Rizal would be threatened, right? So even against like all the odds, I think he would rather go down fighting than be freaking wiped out.
Roll speed,
But I don't
please.
know.
I as I'm just thinking in my head.
Harm and Dr. Rizal, roll speed.
Speed.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just hoping that, like, to avoid that as much as possible until, like, I could just, you know, like, just, like, avoid until possible. God damn it.
Well,
Yeah, I got a critical
Of course
fail,
I
so
get
it's
another
not going to be good for
stress
me.
for
yeah,
that.
Dr. Rizal has a critical failure, so he goes last anyways. You raise your weapon then, Dr. Rizal?
Yeah. He'll attempt to.
I see you raise your weapon, and the Hyperspace Raider puts out his hand. Violence will get you nowhere. You may shoot if you wish, but you seal your fate to untruth.
You threatened us with violence when you didn't he just cock his shotgun?
Yeah, he did. It's not
Yeah.
pointing at you. It's like across his body. Like when you say 0 and 1s, you just hear this big intake of breath. It's like an instinct. Like.
Maybe you're right. Maybe violence isn't the answer. Why don't you put your gun down and give us some time to think?
He looks over at Harm. Brother, are you joining us?
I would like to confer with my associate here and understand why his mind is where he is with not being with the truth.
So he looks at you and nods. I give you 10 minutes to contemplate existence. And he shoulders his shotgun and then blinks out. Blink. And then you see him reform in the middle of the hangar. Blink. And he's just standing there. 10 minutes starting now. You have 2 choices. Join the Brotherhood or pay for transit through hyperspace.
Well, if I was 10 minutes.
Erik goes over the comm. He's like, "Hey guys, come to the pilot's bay."
Okay.
Are we sure that leaving whatever this humanoid creature thing is in the bay here is not gonna like offend it and potentially have it like completely destroy everything?
We don't know what it's capable of. That's the thing. It's the unknown and the technological. So it's we're in a really bad like footing. I think they're much more advanced than us. Although the pump shotgun is a little odd.
It's like ancient too. Like
yeah.
It looks like you would breech load it.
Yeah.
Maybe since they've been in hyperspace so long, at least this particular one, maybe with the hyperspace you don't like. Where was I going with that? Maybe in hyperspace you don't age.
Maybe, but I say maybe let's have this conversation in the pilot's bay. I think there's some treats up here that might interest either of you.
Okay, so Dr. Rizal and Harm, you ascend the four ladder going towards the pilot house.
Yeah.
You get up the ladder, you turn forward, and you start moving. And who's in the rear?
Do you want to be in the rear or do you want me to be in the rear, depending on which direction they... You know what? It doesn't really matter because they can just pop up anywhere.
One of you is in the rear and you hear this clunk. And you look back down the hallway at about 15, 20 feet. There's a red dude just standing there with his shotgun, his thing, his arms, and you just hear him. And then you look back, you see him, and you keep walking forward. And then you look back and he's not there again. And you walk towards the pilot house and then you hear clunk. You look back and there he is. And then you come towards the pilot house. You get to the pilot house. You're at the pilot house steps, and Erik Collins is in the pilot house, and you smell baking. You go up the steps, and there's a plastic plate of 4 chocolate chip cookies, and Erik Collins in the console. You look back down the 4 steps, and you can only see like half of them because you can't see the top of them now because you're looking down that short ladder where, but you hear him.
What a strange
So basically,
creature.
this is saying Darth Vader.
Yeah.
I asked Mr. Tim to close the doors to the pilot bay.
Captain Erik Collins, I cannot do that. I do not have hands.
I walk down the steps, look at the Raider.
The airlock door to the pilot house has its own airlock door. It's a smaller door, but it's right at the top of the steps, so you could pull the airlock door closed.
Yeah, I just pull it shut as I stare at him, and I just give it a couple turns.
You throw the lever.
Yeah.
Close the wheel.
Not that this is gonna help much, probably. Okay, look, and I look around, make sure there's no red dudes in here, and I say, I asked Mr. Tim to slowly take us out of hyperspace because that is obviously something that they're utilizing, right, Doctor?
That is an excellent assumption. How much time do we have?
I asked Mr. Tim.
We have 25 minutes and 39 seconds.
Okay, and he gave you guys 10 minutes, so we have about 10 more minutes unaccounted for of how we're going to deal with this. I don't really want to become some sort of hyperspace wandering pirate cult member, whatever they are.
I have an idea. Maybe if we, once the 10 minutes is over, we attempt to, like, negotiate as in, like, negotiate them potentially using the Gambit as something they can use. Not actually use, but, like, pretend like we can figure out, like, cut a deal with them, maybe that way, while we wait for Mr. Tim to get us out of hyperspace.
Why don't we send him to Max? I don't know this. This is out of character. I don't know who Max is.
That's actually an idea.
Oh no, they might destroy Max. He might be one of the machines that they're not a fan of.
Yeah, that's a.
I don't really want to see him ripped apart, even though he's been pretty odd since, the whole alien thing.
Well, there
the alien wouldn't let.
That is that the alien could destroy the Raider guy, or the Raider could destroy the alien.
Or they could destroy our whole ship fighting the alien and Max. I just want to keep everyone as safe as possible. We already lost
Max?
one person. He's an android. He's got a pet alien right now.
That's why I was trying to stall them, because I was like, they're like, I don't want like things to end up going down shitter.
Let's take account of what we know. We know they don't like the machine. They know we want them to join us, and they are utilizing hyperspace somehow, and they're convinced that we have false memories because of using hyperspace. That's it. And there's cookies, by the way.
You took time to make cookies? There's no time for that.
I agree.
In character, are the cookies like the bread? Did they just magically show up?
Yeah, there's cookies now, yeah. And I don't know where the bread went.
The cookies are like the bread and the milk. We have to figure that out later, because knowing me, I'm going to get distracted by it anyway. But we need to figure out this Raider thingy first.
What happened if when he was thinking you guys were saying no, he was we're gonna have a fight on our hands. So
he seemed to get upset when I started asking about the machine
I say, Harm, do we have any explosives that won't end up causing the ship to decompress? Do you recall that?
I don't. But I'll double check with Mr. Tim to make sure that, like, because Mr. Tim would probably know better than my cryo sleep, somewhat still addled brain. Just be like, Mr. Tim, I know we have explosives, but are any of them not entirely like ship explosion inducing?
Captain Harm, we have grenades of various sorts in the contraband hold. Captain Max took one down to the planet. There are others. The contraband hold is aft of cryo.
And we've got a ticking timer.
So
Maybe
basically, I would have to go past that Void Space Raider dude to get.
I mean, there's already one outside the door, so
yeah.
it's like
I don't think they're stopping us from walking around the ship. I guess we have some. Our guests aren't going to intervene until this 10-second timer's up. Maybe dash and go get some ordnance, and we'll set up somewhere and really put our foot down and see how far this is going to go until we drop out of hyperspace.
So here's another thought, right? I don't think they knew you were here until Mr. Harm had said that there are others on the boat on the ship. So
I
maybe
think I always said that there was one other person that we were waiting on, so I don't think they're counting on Max being here.
Well, they saw me close the door, so they have a count of at least the three of us.
But what I'm trying to say is that I don't think they're omnipresent. I think we try to like hide from them.
Okay, I like that idea more than a firefight to the death.
Yeah.
Do you?
So
you were on the ship before us. Do you have a good place to hide?
So I'm trying to dig into my mind space and like try to remember of the emergency hatches or crawl spaces that we can kind of get into, since it's not in this room.
Right.
Maybe we can try to.
There's a number of overhead conduits and crawl spaces. None of them lead into that pilot house directly. The reason being is that pilot house is the last ditch effort if the whole ship decompresses. It's the single door, the airlock door. So none of those like conduits come in there. There's obviously ceiling conduits you've seen as you're walking through. There's the contraband hold. There's aft spaces, and but it's outside the pilot house. They're crawl spaces.
Okay, so here's my take. And this is kind of like out of character, so we can kind of like coordinate a plan, and then I'll try to like do a role play for it. But I'm thinking we designate certain areas. They say like we're going to use the last 5-10 minutes to gather our personal effects, say goodbye to our things, and basically go to these locations that have the crawl spaces, and then we'll get in them, obviously play hide and seek, and try to go to a different location where we can strap down for the eventual drop out of hyperspace. What do you guys think?
That sounds good. So we'll try to, I guess, keep them guessing where we are, and hiding will buy us time.
Basically, we have to split up and we'll hide.
Okay.
In the crawl spaces. So we find like the designated locations, okay.
Oh, and they're big and bulky. I don't know if they'll fit in crawl spaces.
Yeah. But I think he said that it phased like half the body was like, the body was there, but the head was in.
No, you just couldn't see him because you're looking down the ladder well. You can only see the bottom half of him. But
I feel like we have like 5 minutes to go hide, like less than.
Yeah, basically this is like the whole hide and seek, 5, 4, counting down kind of deal. So, okay, we got a plan.
Also assuming that they can't do whatever the phase or like jumping thing to a different place that they can't see. At least that's what my assumption
I
is.
don't know. I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah.
Maybe not, but I'm assuming that's what Harm is going to be hoping.
Okay. So the plan is to pop the airlock door to pilot house, do some subterfuge, and then try to hide. That's what I hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll like open the.
And you tell Mr. Tim of this plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was nice knowing you, captains, and Dr. Rizal. I hope this works out. If not, I will catalog your death and lament your passing. Maybe you should have those cookies before you leave. It'd be terrible to die without chocolate cookies.
I take one.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. I'll take one.
I'll take one
eat
and
it
be
just
like,
before
okay,
we die.
Mr. Tim, I appreciate that someone will at least miss me after my death.
Erik Collins, you just didn't put enough nutmeg in it this time. You bite into the cookie, and it's the first thought you think, I didn't put enough nutmeg in it.
I didn't put enough nutmeg.
You did cook it.
The rest of you, Dr. Rizal and Captain Harm, you just have this deja vu of eating cookies. And like you've tasted them before, this recipe. And less nutmeg was put in this time. And then you pop open the pilot door as you're eating your chocolate cookies, and you see R59B at the bottom of the stairs, and he kind of looks up. Are those chocolate chip cookies?
Indeed.
Do you have more?
Here, you can have
Yeah.
mine.
Goes-
Help yourself.
He reaches over, and it's got like 3 bites out of you. He bites into it, and he goes,
It needs more nutmeg, right?
No, I think they are perfect. Just the right amount of cinnamon. Who would have thought to put cinnamon and nutmeg in chocolate chip cookies? Have you made your decision? Are you joining the Brotherhood or paying the tax of transport?
I hold up 5 fingers. I say, just give us 5. We're gonna go pack our bags.
We're gonna grab our personal effects and say goodbye to this world. Give us 5 minutes.
Very good. And he puts the last part of his chocolate chip cookie in his mouth, pops his thing through it, and he blinks out. Blink! And he's not there anymore. He like fades away. You see him nod at you. And his last bit of voice, in the hangar bay, brothers, in the hangar bay. And then he pops off.
Erik Collins is gonna take that moment to like sprint and go squeeze himself into, between a wall and some pipes and some wires, some conduit. Just get whatever space, him away from them, and that's all he can do right now.
I think that's all we're gonna do. I mean, I don't have any other thing. I'm doing the exact same thing. Trying to find a crawl space that I can hide that's relatively secure, and let's see what happens. Roll the dice.
Let's see if he finds you. Let's see if they come looking. Because at some point, they're going to be waiting for you. And R59B is going to have B37454 say, I don't think they're coming. They have tricked you. I concur. Let's go find them. And they'll go look for you. See if they find you.
Good luck, guys.
I'm going to have them roll their instinct at disadvantage and see what happens.
Great.
Even a disadvantage, and they did it. Roll a 1d6. On 1 and 2, it's Erik Collins. On 3 or 4, it's Dr. Rizal. 5 or 6, it's Captain Harm.
Who's rolling?
Whoever wants to roll.
Go ahead.
Say Harm.
Roll our fates.
Yes.
All right, D6 it is.
Dr. Rizal, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So, where are you hiding, Dr. Rizal? You know this ship, not in this form, obviously.
Mhm.
There's many open places and conduits and sidewalls and open ceiling parts where it's missing, you know, a whole square of like what the hell happened to that? Where is Dr. Rizal hiding?
I think he would be hiding in a fan room somewhere.
Okay.
Being prior military, I know they exist on ships.
Yeah. Avoid behind the door.
As where most sailors hide. So I think he'd be hiding in there because it's not really a crawl space. You can kind of stand up and you know, pace and whatnot. So I think he'd be hiding in there, waiting for the time to come. And while he's waiting, he's holding the spray can in his hand, and like, you know, kind of like unscrewing the false bottom to look at the capsules that are inside. His life's work, you know, everything that he's created, and in the pursuit of peace, more destruction, right? And just kind of waiting for that moment, like, will I get a chance to use this or not?
I think
will I get the chance to see this? Yeah.
I think you're all the way aft in like one of the voids in engineering, back where the engines are, back where the stuff is, and there's some triangular void spaces behind doors where they can get to maintenance issues for engine bay, and they're behind these weird like misshapen doors, triangular, square, they're oblong. Sometimes you have to duck underneath them, and you're in this small triangular space, probably crouched down, you know, trying to be quiet, and you hear this clanking footstep, clank, 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 and then a little whoosh, whoosh, and you blink, and R59B is crouched down next to you. You're both in this little crawl space. There's practically no room to move, and he looks at you. Are you hiding, brother? It would seem that you are trying to trick us. Do you not wish to enter the Brotherhood?
If given the choice between annihilation and entering the Brotherhood, wouldn't you have pause?
You just hear him sigh, and then your personal communicator goes off. Mr. Tim DI says, exiting hyperspace in 60 seconds, 59, 58, 57, and he looks at you and he unlatches this thing. Understand this, we will hunt you every moment in hyperspace. Every time you go to the void, we will be there. We will not give quarter this time. We will not accept payment for transit. You are now considered unworthy. And then he just blinks out. And then all hell breaks loose. The whole ship shakes to shit because Mr. Tim has just exited hyperspace on a emergency orbit. Each of you make a body save.
Damn it, Mr. Tim, you said it would be safe.
He says it's an emergency exit.
Body is not my best.
Yes. Really?
Erik Collins. Mr. Tim, you're all in your separate hiding spaces. I'm not sure where that is. I know where Dr. Rizal is, in an aft triangular crawl space of engineering, and Mr. Tim emergency exits hyperspace, and you feel it, this transition that you usually ride out in cryo, this out-of-body phasing, almost like you're being stretched and duplicated, like you almost see a vision of yourself splay out a little bit wider. Your eyes kind of go back around, and both Dr. Rizal and Erik Collins, no, actually, it's Captain Harm and Erik Collins. You feel this burning nausea in the top of your stomach right here as you exit hyperspace. This cold tentacle of feeling like you're going to throw up, this squirming in the center of your chest as you exit hyperspace. And then Mr. Tim voice comes over to comms. We are safely in sector 3453. We've made it. Oh my God, I didn't think it would work. And we're in there.
Oh, that was good.
I have I thought I was gonna have to roll up a new character.
I was thinking the same thing.
Like, damn, I'm about to roll up another character.
At, like, max stress again, so I can't imagine what would have happened if I hadn't done the stim pack.
If we had any panic checks, it could go real south real quick.